Hello, and welcome to the Let Them Live podcast. I'm Emily Burning, your host, and also the president and co-founder of Let Them Live. We bring you interviews with unsung heroes and inspiring individuals who are in the fight to save babies, mothers, and fathers from abortion. Our goal is to amplify their voices and bring their stories to the forefront, shedding light on the incredible work they do and the lives they touch. This is more than just a podcast. It's a platform that allows everyone to share their pro-life stories and inspire us to passionately continue advocating for life. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Let Them Live podcast. I'm Emily Burning. I am the president and co-founder of Let Them Live, and I'm so excited to be jumping back into the podcast after taking a break for the holidays. It's really nice to be getting back into everything, and I'm so excited to have our first guest of the year, Miss Linda Drew. Linda is a supporter of Let Them Live, and she has an amazing testimony, which I got to hear when I talked to her on the phone a couple of months ago. One thing that I do in my role is I talk to donors, plain and simple. And I absolutely love doing that because I get a chance to connect with the people that are literally holding up our ministry and giving it the support that it needs to keep going. And I got the wonderful opportunity of talking to Linda. So I'm really excited that she's here and she's just going to share her testimony and talk about it. And hopefully it just encourages everyone, and especially women who've been in a similar situation or whatever. We know that whoever needs to hear it is going to hear it. So I'm so excited to have Linda. Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yes. How's your new year been going so far?
We just got our 3-year-old grandson out of the hospital, but he's good, so
Good.
Fine.
Yes, baby steps.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know we had talked, and I would love for you to just share with everybody a little bit about your background and what you shared with me, your story about your abortion and just your journey through that and what that experience was like for you.
Sure. So I was 19. My father was working 2 jobs. My mother was very sick. She was dying from cancer. I was in a very bad place. We grew up in church, but I left and I was very out there doing a lot of drugs, drinking, ended up pregnant. And actually, everyone I talked to told me, you need to have an abortion. And I didn't even know about abortion at that time because it was just a new thing. It was in 1973 when it just became legal. So I really didn't want to do that. I was actually excited to be pregnant because it gave me something to live for. I wasn't doing well on my own, but I thought if I have someone to live for, that would give me a reason for living. But everybody I talked to in my life said, no, you can't do this. I had no support system. I wasn't even holding down a job at the time. And there were no women's centers out there that reached out to women who were considering abortions. So I went ahead and they had told me when I got there, they did an ultrasound, said you're 12 weeks and this is not a baby yet. So I was like, it's just a blob of tissue. It's still forming. It's not a big deal. So I thought I could live with that. If I have to do this, at least I know that it's not a baby yet. Whew. So yeah, after that abortion, it literally almost destroyed my life. You have no idea what abortion does to your life until you've been there. So yeah, I got so many infections after that. The doctor told me you will never have children. Your uterus is just so messed up. And after the abortion, it just literally changed my whole personality. I became very numb. I sabotaged everything in my life. I stopped caring about anything. I acquired a eating disorder that almost killed me. Then I tried taking my life. I couldn't finish anything that I started. And that was something I learned along the the way that there's like a spirit of abortion on your life. When you take the life of your baby, that spirit of abortion takes your destiny from you. You just can never live out your destiny. So no matter what I tried to make my life better, it was not going to happen till I got some help.
Which is amazing. The
Yeah,
post-abortive healing is so important. And hearing you talk about that, Linda, is so sad because I think this is a really good thing to point out is the pro-life movement. Yes, saving the life of a baby is so important, but we hear stories like this of women being hurt by abortion, and that
oh
also
yeah,
hurts us. And so we don't want other women to experience that. And this is all information that you were never told, or you had that abortion. You were even lied to about your baby at 12 weeks. You were never warned, I'm sure, of all of the potential risks and, well, mental and physical. What does that feel like to you to see people who support abortion just treat it so carelessly, or just like it's a normal, natural thing?
yeah. I know women are deceived if they think it's okay to do that to your own body and your own baby. There's no way someone in their right mind with all the information can actually go through an abortion and say, it's not going to bother me. Well, you have to lie to yourself. It's not going to hurt me if you have all the information. And that's the important thing is getting, when women are considering abortion, to really do some research about, even some women don't even know what an abortion actually entails. And if you see that, it's like, yeah, do I really want to do that to my baby?
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Education is so important. And that's why I feel like it's important to share these types of stories on the podcast,
yeah,
because it's just a real testimony from you. Like, this is what I went through. And hearing you talk about all the pain, the amazing thing is that you were able to go through post abortive healing. And I would love to hear what that was like for you. I know that's different for every single woman who
yeah,
goes through it.
yeah, absolutely. At some point, I started going back to church. I gave my life to Jesus and I asked for forgiveness. I asked for healing. And actually, after that, I had 5 children. I did have one miscarriage after the second child, but I continued. I had 3 more children, now have 13 grandchildren. God is healing. The hardest thing to do is to forgive yourself when, especially when you are in a better place and you realize what you did, and it's hard to forgive yourself. So that took a long time. But I did go through a group. It was a post abortive group that we met. We went over scripture and how God heals, and we prayed, and we planted flowers in for our baby. We named our baby, all the stuff, and that helped tremendously.
Yeah,
Um,
that's beautiful. I'm
so
so,
yeah,
so glad you did that too. And you're spot on. We're really hard on ourselves. At least I know I am. And I do not give myself any mercy or grace or space or anything like that. And so, with something as difficult to face and come to terms with as abortion, I can only
yeah,
imagine just how hard you were on yourself. There's a lot of shame and guilt. And something I am just so grateful for is you even coming on to talk about this, because a lot of women that I've talked to that are post abortive, that are they're 40, 50, 60, 70, however old they are, they still don't talk about it publicly. Maybe even their kids don't know about it. And that gives it, in a way, I try to encourage everyone to talk to someone about it, because
yeah.
when we keep things in and close them in a box
Mm-hmm.
and put them away, sometimes that's where the shame and the guilt can fester. So have you found that being able to share and just bring attention to it has helped you in any way?
It does, because I feel if I can help somebody through my own mistake, But there was a time when I couldn't do that. I couldn't even speak about it because I would just cry. So yeah, it took years before I could even mention it. So
Yeah.
it is a process.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's amazing though, too, how many lives have been saved and how many women have been spared from the pain because of you and people like yourself just sharing, hey, you don't have to do this. And I guess that is brings me to my next question of maybe is your post-abortive story and your testimony the reason, the driving force behind supporting Let Them Live and the women through Let Them Live?
Oh, absolutely. Especially since you are so personable, so you are not just an organization, you're a face, you're people that care. It's not just the women's center, which is needed and really good, and the doctors that give free ultrasounds. It's all needed, but people need connection. And when you can connect, what really impressed me was after the first time I donated, I got a postcard with, one of the ladies who kept her baby and how she was doing well. And I was like, oh, I love this organization.
That's awesome.
And
Sometimes I feel like we have to make up for it because we're virtual. And
right,
so it's so important. If I were donating, I would want to know how it's going or,
yeah,
so I'm
absolutely.
glad. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. And I'm actually praying that I have more resources. Right now I've got very little income on Medicare and I don't work anymore, but I feel like this is something I really would put my money into. And I did want to mention something I read just recently really hit me, and I didn't know this, and maybe this would be something to really think about for women who are thinking about an abortion or had an abortion. It says research shows that mothers retain some of their children's cells in their brains after pregnancy. A child is a cellular extension of the mother, meaning that any physical or emotional harm to a child also affects the mother. The mental and physical attachment between a mother and child never ends. So that would explain also why there's so much emotional turmoil after an abortion, even though you think, what, I never saw the baby, it wasn't really a baby, in all the stuff. God put that part, that's our motherly part, and that doesn't go away. So we carry that, and then that's why you carry the guilt.
Yeah. I'm
So
really glad that you brought that up. That's such a really interesting thing. I think I've heard that somewhere, and I'm glad that you brought it up because it's so true. There's that undeniable, unbreakable connection between a mother and her child, and it can absolutely have effects. And it actually made me think of another question for you was when you had your miscarriage, did that I don't know where you were at in your healing journey, but did that bring up anything from your abortion or was it like any emotions or of course it was emotional, but
I think I understood that it was probably from the abortion, but I had two little children and I was in a very bad marriage situation. So my head was all over the place. But I did know to name the baby. I also had a tubal pregnancy before I got married. After I had the abortion, that put me in the hospital. Yeah. So I also named that baby. So
probably helped you a lot with the healing process
yeah,
of that because miscarriages are also very painful, but it's
yeah,
pretty amazing that you can use some of the same things that you learned in your healing to get through that. And that's amazing because those are painful times. And as women, we know that your emotions are high, your hormones are out
yeah,
of there's
yeah,
already so much going on. How to even process that? So I think that's really amazing.
yeah, yeah. Thankful.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I think they touched on so well just the pain that you felt and expressing that you want other people and other women to hear what you
Yeah,
have to say. If you could just say one thing or a couple of things to other women who might find themselves in a situation where they're faced with abortion, what would that be? Whether they're being pressured to have the abortion or it's finances or whatever, what
Yeah,
would you say to them if you had the opportunity?
sure. Absolutely. Get real information. And you don't want to get information from like Planned Parenthood because those are the people that, if they have no problem doing an abortion, taking the life of a baby, would you really trust them to give you real information that would help you? Because anybody that's willing to take your baby or to take a life of another human being doesn't really care about you either. So there's so much information out there now, like just from your organization, from the women's centers, there's all kinds of outreaches. That would be really important to help you with that because there's actually a lot of help. And also, there's a thought that it's documented scientifically that if you have a full term baby, that prevents you from getting breast cancer. So that's another thing. So there's always adoption. There's so many people who can't have babies and would love to adopt, and you can stay in touch with that baby or not. But there's the end of abortion is the end and it's death. But to have a full term baby, even if you don't keep the baby, there's life and it doesn't destroy your life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I always say that circumstances are temporary, but abortion is permanent. And
Yeah.
it's 2020, as I say, it's 2023, but it is not. It is 2024. There are so many organizations and people. And if adoption scares you, if you're watching this and you're pregnant and you're like, I don't know what to do, and adoption scares you, don't worry. There are people that will take both you and your baby in. Let them live. We're going to help you with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And work through that and make sure that you have all the options. And like you said, that information you can get right from us or pregnancy centers or whatever, and educating yourself about the realities of abortion.
Sure. And our church, and I'm sure many other ones, are praying for more organizations like you, more outreaches,
I would
because,
love that.
yeah, because you can't just say, okay, you can't have an abortion and leave women out there without help. Because a lot of women don't want an abortion and they
It's
just,
easy to say don't have the abortion, right? Anybody could say that. We could say that all day long, but that only goes so far. And I would love it if any other organizations like Let Them Live pop up. I'm all here for it because the more support we can have for women, the
yeah,
better. And that kind of led me into my last question for you, Linda. It's how can the pro-life movement better support women that are finding themselves pregnant and scared and alone or whatever they're facing? It could be domestic violence, it could be they were raped, whatever it is. How
yeah.
can the movement better support and reach women?
I really think it's going to have to start with prayer because people aren't always moved to do things like you do, and there's a need for people to get involved. Okay, so you can say I'm pro life, but we need more involved people. So that's what we're praying for is more involvement. I think right now the pro life movement is doing a tremendous work in educating, reaching out, giving free ultrasounds, helping with support baby items and stuff. Even doctors are lending themselves. So I can't think of anything that they're not doing, but we need more of it.
Yeah.
We need more involvement from more people.
Take it
So
one more
putting the
step.
word out there, maybe.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
always need more people. And I can speak to that with Let Them Live as well. We just always need more. And it's more finances, it's more people, it's more volunteers, more organizations, more partners that can come alongside. So I think you're spot on with that. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to share it. And I wanted to see if you had anything that was on your mind that you wanted to share before
yeah.
we closed up.
Yeah, yeah. I would say to women, go by your instinct that your gut feeling, by what your gut feeling shows, because God really gave you that baby and he would be there to help you if that's what you choose to do. There is help out there, and you will find that you have more. There is more to life than what. Once you have a baby, it brings a whole different meaning to life. And I discovered that after my first baby. I'm like, wow, what a blessing. Even if you're in a bad situation, I've heard of women just being so blessed by having that baby, but you don't know that until you do it. So go by your gut feeling.
That's really good advice. I think us women, we have that gut feeling for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
especially if you're pregnant. Yeah, that's very good advice. And thank you again, Linda, so
Yeah.
much for being so open and sharing. And I know that this is just going to touch a lot of people. And I just hope that whoever needs to hear it will hear it. And thank you for supporting Let Them Live. Thank you for putting your words and your beliefs into action. I think it's an example for a lot of people. So thank you again.
Yeah, and thank you for everything you're doing, you and your husband and everyone involved. That's very selfless.
Hey, when you're called to it, I've tried this. You can say no or to God, but he'll just keep knocking at the door. And so
Uh,
he's a gentleman, but he'll gently remind you that you've got to say yes to the mission. So
yeah, absolutely. And then he gives you the grace to do it. So
thank you everyone for listening in to our first podcast of 2024. I'm so excited for the rest of this year. And thanks to Linda for joining us. And I hope you all loved it. Go ahead and share, comment, all the stuff that you can do on a computer or phone. And make sure to visit letthemlive.org. You can see the moms that we're supporting and the fundraisers that we're running. And then you guys can get involved and join our Let Them Live family and help us to help women who are financially in need so that they can choose life over abortion. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Let Them Live podcast. I would like to give a special shout out to Patrick at Moon Shadow Studios, who does an amazing job of editing our podcast. If you're ever in the need for a podcast editor, he is definitely the one to go to. Let Them Live is a Christian nonprofit dedicated to supporting women who are considering abortion primarily due to financial burden. 73% of women have abortions because of financial struggles, and we're here to help bridge that gap. Our goal is to provide the emotional and financial support these women need to feel empowered to choose life. If our cause resonates with you and you're interested in learning more, getting involved, or making a donation, please visit our website at www.letthemlive.org. One amazing way to contribute is by joining our Heartbeat Club, where you can become a monthly donor, and your ongoing support will ensure that we can continue helping women every single month. You can also follow us on social media to stay up to date with all the amazing stories and ways that you can be part of our mission. You can also find me on Instagram at Emily Burning. Thank you again for listening, and please join us for more upcoming inspiring stories and conversations.